From Kejebi, we set off to examine the border situation in the Volta region. Fred Kwame Asari had eyes on the Ghana-Togo border community called Gakli. Here, only imaginary lines separate the two countries, and the common phrase that runs through the border report prevails: smuggling. This time, it is smuggling that is being fueled by increasing human settlement near the border, a situation the Ghana Immigration Service is worried about.
It's business as usual at Pillar 11, one of the numerous unapproved routes to and from Ghana to neighboring Togo. Though there are border security officials here, the checks are not as rigorous as you would see on the approved routes. A border officer told me because community members interrelate, work and live in both countries, it is difficult restricting people from crossing. There are several of such unapproved routes leading to Gakli and adjoining communities in the area, as only imaginary lines separate the two countries.
There are different tribes here in Gakli. We have the Frafres, Hausa, Grusi, Arabs and many other tribes from West Africa.
Gakli is a settler community along the southeastern part of the Ghana-Togo border in the Duta electoral area of Aflao. Its inhabitants are mostly citizens of countries in the West African sub-region, with Islam being the dominant religion. Being the most economically viable community in the area, business is concentrated in the fine boy market constructed by a Malian.
The chiefs approached Fine Boy to help construct a market in the area. So he obliged and constructed it to help the community. The market has become a one-stop shopping center for everything needed.
The Ghanaian government benefits very little from the local economy as traders here enjoy tax holidays. The shops here are mostly stocked with francophone or foreign products brought into the country through the unapproved routes. In Gakli, almost everything is priced in the West African CFA franc, including lands, making the Togolese currency dominant here. Another significant thing is that here, petrol is sold in bottles. You need between 475 and 500 CFA franc or its CD equivalent to buy a liter of petrol. Prosper is a unit committee member.
Inhabitants here mostly travel by motorbikes because there are no fuel stations in the area. Some people purchase the fuel at Aflao and sell to us in bottles. This helps us to fuel our bikes to enable us go about our various activities.
The unit committee chairman, Koshivi Bakba, believes citing an official border post in the area would enhance security and lessen cross-border crimes.
Former President Mahama and President of Togo, Faure Gnassingbé, promised to establish a border post here during their visit to the area. We are appealing to the government to consider doing that.
The Ketu South Municipal Chief Executive Elliot Edem Agbenawu lamented human settlements along the border were undermining the country's security. He indicated various measures are being taken to streamline activities in Gakli in line with the country's laws.
In fact, we have more than 28 unapproved routes in the municipality, But immigration has been helping. However, what we earmarked to do, for which we've already started and about 60% has been completed, is to construct a road from the main border, joining the no man's land, to link with the Sebe. The unapproved routes are there, and that is where these merchants come from. You know, that market is solely, I can say it's solely for these foreigners who comes from Togo, Mali, Niger, and all that. They sell their cloth and other things. So we are encouraging them to go through the main border, but they also not comfortable. But I think that the main border rather, it's the best for them. But they also not comfortable. But because we also want to check illegality in our borders, in our unapproved routes, and we are strengthening security around those areas. I can tell you that our anus is opened over here as a country, and so I know that His Excellency the President is very much committed about this.
Until stringent measures are put in place at these unapproved routes leading to the country, Ghana will continue to lose revenue due to smuggling through these routes.
We remained in the region where so many cross-border activities are recorded hourly. This time, correspondent Ivy Setoji kept an eye on the main border at Bit 9, which is also laced with unapproved routes. Some border officials admit to taking unsolicited gifts, but they reject allegations by travelers. They demand money, without which they refuse them entry. The Togolese officials are especially cited by the travelers. We crowned these stories focusing on one of the very few interventions meant to reduce congestion at the Aflao-Togo border, which seems to be rotting away. Ivy Setoji reports officials are mostly idling at the automated Ghana-Togo border post, waiting for an ICT software to make the automated border post functional. Here is what we found at the Nupe-Akano joint post in the Volta region.
These trucks move in and out of Ghana and Togo here at the Nupe-Akano joint border post. Travelers and traders used to depend solely on their Aflao and Segbe border for thoroughfare, but the traffic here created serious congestion. The Joint Border Control System was commissioned in 2017 to reduce the congestion. It was to help check the trucks automatically, but more than 2 years after commissioning, the Joint Border Post is not completely operational. Drivers of long vehicles cannot come to terms with the situation, as well as the difficulty it presents to them. They allege the head of the sector command of the Ghana Revenue Service and Customs, Assistant Commissioner Sheila Vicbedo, has refused to admit any truck carrying goods through this border.
Before this truck, we are giving us this thing, Lassi-Passi. We are calling it undertaking. It's 1 month to enter Ghana, come back. But now this woman making it 2 weeks. So we are facing difficult for that one. Because every day is a spike. Every day is 5 cedi. Then we are paying a penalty. So they just give you 2 weeks. When you go, before you go load from company, they will give you documents. It's more than 2 weeks. So if you come back, we can't pay penalty. Sometimes we are paying 80 Ghana. Sometimes we are paying 100 Ghana. Sometimes we are paying many. We pay almost about 15 Ghana cedis. So that's our program now. What we want to talk to for this woman, make you return the team back to 1 month. 1 month. That before it be 3 months. Before come, we reduce down to 2 months. Before end of the year, they come back to 1 month. Yes. Now this woman bring it to 2 weeks.
Who is this woman now?
So I wouldn't know you. Okay. They say he be the big man.
Customs officer. The madam of the customs office.
Yes. So that's that.
She declined comments in our attempt to get her side of the story. At the time of our visit, the officers were seen attending manually to very few people who were entering the country, whilst some of them seemed idling at the post. At the end of our visit, only 3 commercial vehicles with passengers were checked in manually at the post.
Now let's hope. Business is not booming. We are hoping business booms after the completion of the joint border post here. There's pressure on the Aflao border. As you can see, the only car from Togo to Accra is not full.
Apart from the officers who were idling, the border post has just few security officials, so thoroughfare here is very easy. Like all other borders reviewed so far, several unapproved routes exist here also. A Togolese expressed his frustration about the situation.
This place is a very big place for ECOWAS. They invest plenty money here, but they don't want to get that money, back.
For now, the officials are waiting for the software to make this border post functional, and that will ease the Aflao border pressure, reduce processing time, and also allow trucks to reach their destinations, especially those with perishable goods. It will also enable ECOWAS monitor transactions at the various border points for the collection of the ECOWAS levy. Here is Anthony Avobedo, MCE for Ketu North.
There are some documents that they cannot process as the joint border post, that they have to go to Aflao to do. That means the place is not fully operational. I'm of the view that when all these things are, these bottlenecks are being addressed, the trucks, when they come to Akan, every documentation has to be done at Akan. So that's what we are hoping to have.
A lot of money has been spent on this joint border post. Both staff and users of this route want to see some action as soon as possible.
As indicated earlier, the responses have been enormous from high-ranking authorities in the Ghana Immigration Service.
The borders are such that at times people moving without visa, like you rightly said, the savannah area. You visited the Boku stretch. You saw the mountains. You saw that in the dry season, you can see kilometers away. So you can be here, the border agents can be here, but they can see somebody crossing on the water. How do you react? How do you chase? The border itself is a challenge. Nigeria has over 5,000 kilometers of land borders. They have only about 20 border posts. Libya sits on them. Look at what is happening in Libya. So the arms coming just across.
The trickling in. Influx of small arms. Or even some of the most sophisticated.
You can never tell. Maybe most of
and because it's a thin line, you will not be surprised that some of those arms are in Northern Ghana.
It's very possible.
Or even
because arms are being trafficked all through the south. Where is it coming from? Where are they going? And if you look at our northern conflict, look at the arms that they use. AK-47, sophisticated arms. The border is managed by many agencies. We have immigration, we have customs, we have narcotics, Ghana Standards Authority, we have Foods and Drug Board. Everybody is performing a function targeted at something. So if you don't come together to look at the security of the border, you will fight among yourselves, and then there are loopholes that people will come through. And then you see that we are managing over 2,000 kilometers of land borders. The sea has another over 500. We have only 45 land border posts over the distance of over 2,000, almost 2,400 kilometers, carved out by the Europeans under colonialism. So they're artificial. So you look at all these things and see where the highest risk is, then you deploy your resources accordingly. For example, the Aflao stretch, the border actually sits, the town sits on the border. So anything moves. Border security is simply putting in measures that protects a country's borders against threats. So you put together what we call a border management strategy, which is holistic, brings all the agencies together. And then also in our world, we see that resources are scarce. So you put all these agencies together and you look at issues, resourcing them. Burkina Faso is about 2/3 of the country now is virtually ungovernable, and it sits directly on our border. One of the last attacks that happened, it only happened about 10 kilometers from one of our border posts, Kulungu. So it means that anything at all could happen. You could transport. You look at it in the context of the issues of terrorism. How are they operating in the Sahel region? You see that they are expanding right from Nigeria Boko Haram coming into Niger, Mali, the tip of Mauritania, coming down. So currently Ghana in the short term, our border security strategy is driven by the threat of terrorism, especially from the sub-region, and most specifically from our northern border, Burkina Faso.
And then to the Information Ministry.
Security has been a matter that all of us have been concerned with right from the beginning of this year, not just because of the heightened reportage of some of the security incidents in our country, but also because of the security climate within the West Africa sub-region. The administration has shown good faith by commencing an exercise of retooling the security agencies, the police and the military. You regularly see that they are being retooled. You also regularly see that they are recruiting some more numbers and beefing up their numbers. But all of this requires money. It is our expectation that part of this 6 billion, as invested in the further improvement of our security, should deliver a lot of value to the people of Ghana. Security operations are such that we may not give so much detail, because once you give so much detail, you are also arming whoever may be thinking and thoughts towards you. But I do know for a fact that border improvements are included or border security improvements are included in the broad spectrum of security interventions that we are talking about. And part of the resources from this 6 billion will be applied in that area. But I am unable to give you any further detail from that.
In collaboration with the Ghana Immigration Service, the Ghana Police Service has launched a training program on anti-terrorism.
This is a joint training exercise involving officers from the Ghana Police Service and Immigration Service. It is a high-risk operation that is meant to bring synergy between the two institutions in the fight against violent crime and other crimes for better protection of the public and ensure that our operations are well coordinated, both within the country and then along our borders.
Is this the first time we're having such partnership?
We've been having partnerships, joint trainings, but this is the first time we're having such a large number. For now, we are deploying 102 police officers and then 65 from Ghana Immigration Service. They will then form, they will be given a TOT, then their training will be cascaded down to other officers, both in the Immigration Service and then the Police Service, to involve all other law enforcement agencies. And since the police and the immigration are all over the country, both along the borders and then with the country, they are the first line when it comes to issues about immigration, illegal entry and all that. So it is a very key area that we need to synergize operations so that both institutions will not be working in silos, but we're working together to maximize the protection that we give to the public.
Is this in direct response to concerns about Ghana's porous borders?
It is part of it. It is also in response to issues about terrorism, extremism and violent crime that are ongoing within the sub-region. This is a measure to step up that operation. So this one, the training would enhance operational capability of both the police and then the immigration officers, who will then cascade the training to the officers.
Okay. Yeah. I know you are yet to give a breakdown of the specific areas they will be going and what exactly they will be looking out for, but if you can briefly touch on that for me, where exactly are the target areas?
In fact, this is a training program that will take 3 weeks. Okay. There are various aspects that the officers will be taken through. Then, as I said, they are supposed to come and train other officers around hotspots, the northern corridor of the country, and other areas that will come up. For now, our concern is about the northern corridor of the country, northern, upper west, upper east region, and then the northern part of the country and parts of even the Volta region.
Is there any special reason?
Well, the signs are indicating that for major entry points, especially through the land, it will come through these areas. So these are the areas that we are keeping our eye on.
And that is not all. Controller General of the Ghana Immigration Service has been touring the various entry points of the country to ascertain the problems and prefer solutions. So has the Interior Minister Ambrose Derry, as they pledged to deal with the insecurity at the borders, as highlighted in this report by Nanaya Ojima.
Traders and other travelers enter and leave the country through legal and illegal routes without the required documentation. Interior Minister Ambrose Derry admits there are challenges but says some gains have since been made. He expects immigration personnel to step up efforts to identify and track down potential troublemakers. Mr. Derry also cites human trafficking and irregular migration as other areas of progress.
Because you broke a gun that was issuing fake birth certificates and getting out our young girls, minors as adults, we were able to do that. But we have a challenge. Burkina Faso. Problems. Security challenges. So we have the government, a combined security team, Operation Conquest Face, the military, police, immigration, doing very well. I want to congratulate you and let us take note of those foreigners who are coming into this country. They enjoy the relative peace of our country. They enjoy our hospitality. We must make sure that they do not sabotage our peace and security. And therefore, you have to know who is with you.
Already, government has commenced retooling of the service to enable it effectively execute its mandate. Mr. Aswatechi lists some improvements recorded so far.
Rugged border patrol motorbikes. The directed management have also purchased 16 hard-body Nissan pickups that we have sent to the north. And you know our role in the Operation Conquest Fit with other security organizations. We've also bought 3 brand new Toyota Prado for the directorate. Already, I can say on authority, with the support of the ministry and the council, about 35% of offices and residential accommodation have been fixed with modern furniture, modern equipment.
Mr. Aswatechi says measures are also in place to cut down on administrative costs in order to make more funds available to improve conditions at service posts and offices.
We are having an expansion, and the idea is that immigration should be visible in every part of the country because of the role that we play. Immigration and border management is assuming a dynamic proportion. I've decided when I go back to Accra that we are going to sit down and plan, and all the interest that some offices don't deserve, I'm going to cut it. I want to save about 300,000 Ghana cedis to wall our properties all over where I visited during my 4 days at Ashanti region. There's going to be a radical paradigm shift never seen in the history of Ghana Immigration Service. This is not a mere talk. We mean it. This is not a mere talk.
The most recent visit by the Controller General of the Ghana Immigration Service and the Interior Minister Ambrose Derry was to the northern parts of the country. As Martina Bugri highlights in this report, they address security at the border and general security.
The Interior Minister Ambrose Derry hinted that by next year there will be a policy to develop infrastructure at the country's borders.
The President is committed to making sure that border security is enhanced. For now, what we are doing is having Operation Conquest Face to take care of the present situation, in which we have the army, the police, immigration, and other intelligence agencies working together. So we've boosted the security at the border. But moving forward, we want to have a more permanent infrastructural setup in such a way that will make our borders less.
The minister's first point of call was the Regional Coordinating Council, where he met with the regional security team. He assured Ghanaians the president's commitment to ensuring that Ghana is peaceful was not just a talk shop. Mr. Derry's next stop was the National Disaster Management Organization, NADBO, where he tasked them to be a proactive institution in averting disasters in the country.
But yes, we acknowledge that you need some equipment. Although we are doing the dredging, if you have some equipment, you can also deal with the smaller area challenges. But what we want you to do as NADBO
is to be proactive, to advise people on how to prevent disasters.
His next destination was the regional police headquarters, where he promised government's commitment to continue to build a capable human resource of the police. The Northern Regional Police Commander Timothy Yosabonga raised concerns about the car snatching phenomenon in the area.
Honorable Minister, the Northern Region Police Command, with its officers and men, we are ready to serve. We will not disappoint you. We will continue to work hard to sustain the peace and the security that the good people of this region are enjoying. The region is generally peaceful, but of late we have some crimes emerging in this region. That is car snatching. About 2 months ago, this type of crime is alien to this region.
It is apparent the work to be done at the various entry points in the country is enormous. And as citizens demand that security from government, individuals are also reminded of their responsibility to keep the country safe.